Alright, hey everybody, it's me, Buster Green. Let's continue doing my three-dimensional Kikaida rewatch. Alright, so at this point, the order gets a little bit skewed up. Next chapter in the manga is Gold Bat, but the anime adapts chapter 6 at this time, so we'll talk about Gold Bat later, probably next video.
この番組は予覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
So honestly, I forgot most of episode 5, that being the anime's Yellow Jaguar episode. This episode is a little bit hard to place because it's a mixed mash of various different comic mini-stories, and it's going to be a weird review here because there's a lot of smeared together information across these episodes and across the different media. So episode 5 starts with Hanpen telling Mitsuko that the cops are out looking for Jiro, and Hanpen has sort of naturally concluded that an evil organization is making all these robots do evil things, but he and Mitsuko don't have that information yet. Mitsuko goes over to her dad's files to look at them in more detail and questions why she wants to protect Jiro. Masaru tells him that they should just look for Jiro because Jiro is their family. The cops get close to cornering Jiro, but he's able to sneak off with his android powers. He meets this full-grown woman named Miyuki, who is randomly depressed, and he starts going on that he has nowhere to go, and she takes pity on him and lets him inside. Meanwhile, Gil has some on-screen exposition, and I think this might be a more linear adaptation of the Toku because this is a pretty typical Professor Gil from the TV series kind of scene. Miyuki doesn't really correlate with the manga, but I think her boyfriend is this guy from the Thunderdog chapter. Miyuki tells Jiro about how love doesn't make sense, and yeah, so meanwhile, this random sleazebag makes a deal with Yellow Jaguar to save his company. Yellow Jaguar agrees to do random crimes in exchange for his complete loyalty to Professor Gil. Hanpei, Mitsuko, and Masaru keep driving around in Hanpei's car. Etsuko isn't in this episode randomly. And then Toru and some other guys get given a bunch of free bombs by the Mafia under the Orders of Dark. Jiro starts hearing Gil's flute and realizes that there must be another Dark robot nearby. Yellow Jaguar comes out of nowhere and attacks Toru for betraying Dark. Jiro saves him, and then Toru reveals that Dark is planting time bombs around the city and gives some much-needed backstory that Dark is this big criminal organization working in secret around the world. Jiro ends up fighting Yellow Jaguar on top of a suspension bridge, and Toru goes around the city trying to defuse as many Yellow Jaguar's bombs as possible before they blow up the city. He eventually does get them all. Jiro kills Yellow Jaguar at the bridge pretty decently, but meanwhile, after Toru has finally defused all the Dark time bombs, he ends up getting gunned down in the back by Silver Tortoise, who is still flying around out there. Now, Miyuki seems to sense his death at her job, and in a really sad twist, Jiro finds Toru's body and very badly processes his death. And then Jiro leaves town without telling Miyuki the truth that Toru died. Alright, so that's one of the best episodes of the anime, but what's crazy is that it's a massive remix of the manga's very messy Chapter 6 Thunderdog and the original Tokusatsu Episode 5, which was also called Yellow Jaguar. To sum up the Tokusatsu episode as quickly as possible, in Episode 5, Gil dispatches Yellow Jaguar to assassinate a scientist named Miki Sakuma, who is an environmental scientist with a plan to reduce air pollution. The dumb reason Gil has behind this is that Yellow Jaguar uses a flamethrower weapon, and the flamethrower weapon seemingly works better if there's more carbon dioxide in the air for it to burn. So therefore, more pollution means it can create more destruction, which is what Dark is all about. So this episode also contains bombs as a major part of the plot, and I completely forgot about this, but this is really unhinged. In a point where Professor Gil explains to the audience what a bomb is, he just randomly blows up a random monkey he had. He's like, hey, check out this bomb, check out this monkey, boom! It's screwed up. Somehow in the middle of the episode, Yellow Jaguar gives a bomb belt to Hanpei, who gives it to a kid. The kid almost gets killed, and it's a long, convoluted plot by Dark to blow up Jiro and Miki. So there were bombs in the original Yellow Jaguar episode. Then the final battle is kind of legendary in terms of Kikaida battles in the live-action Tokusatsu. There are two major special effects moments in this. First things first is that Yellow Jaguar fully attacks Kikaida with a real honest-to-God flamethrower because it was the 70s and that was the most practical way of doing it. This is why I love Tokusatsu from the 70s, because they'll use a real fucking flamethrower to fight Kikaida. The other thing is that, holy fuck, alongside the real flamethrower in this fight, moments of the fight will just straight up switch to action figure combat, which is insanely jarring and really doesn't happen in any of the other major fights in the show. So if you watch one fight from the live action Kikaida, I strongly recommend it be Yellow Jaguar, although there are a handful of others that are just as good. Alright, now let's compare it to manga chapter 6 Thunderdog, one of the only manga exclusive Destructoids Thunderdog. Thunderdog is chapter 6, the first chapter in volume 2, and it starts off by introducing us to Toru, who lives in like a polluted like suburb in Japan. The manga never names him, but I'm going to call him Toru because that's what they called him in the anime. Anyway, in the manga, he's just this random mad bomber who also has a bad leg, which is the reason why he became a bomber. He can't get a job because he has a broken leg, so he decided to just blow up everyone's cars. And he ends up tripping near one of his own bombs, so he needs to be rescued by Jiro after he blows up a car. So Jiro and Toru end up having a talk together, and Toru reveals that he was a simple paper boy until he got ran over by a car, so he dedicated the rest of his life to blowing up everyone else's cars. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, Toru confesses that he's blown up 5 cars at this point, and Jiro doesn't seem to care about that at first, but randomly says that the car has a soul and that blowing people's property up is kind of bad, which kind of seems like nonsense to me. It seems like Jiro's like all mixed up. But anyway, then Jiro tells Toru that the cars aren't evil, it's the people using them who are evil, that old argument, and that just pisses Toru off even more, so he vows to destroy every single car in the entire world. Jiro tells Toru that that's stupid and to do something good with his life, and then randomly confesses back to Toru that he's a robot, so what is he to say? And then he casually walks away, like that being his mic drop. Now, next up, Jiro gets attacked by Thunderdog, who is like randomly being controlled by this bad girl who's like acting like his Pokemon trainer. I like the bad girl, but I'm not sure what her deal is. She doesn't really get any like character development. Anyway, Thunderdog is sort of visually similar to Yellow Jaguar a little bit, but he's a dog-sized Destructoid and he's not intelligent. So Jiro destroys half of Thunderdog's face and runs off. Meanwhile, at the same time, Toru gets a new crutch from this random nice old man who mentions that his new crutch is full of gadgets, including a sci-fi destruction beam. So Toru is like, hell yeah, I can destroy all the cars in the world with this thing. Now, the man trades the cane to Toru for information about Kikaider. He just says Kikaider went that way. The man also offers Toru a robot leg to replace his permanently broken one. And after being attacked by Thunderdog, Jiro justifies that he has to go back to Mitsuko to ask for help. So Jiro goes back to the Komyoji residence, but is surprised to find Toru there. Toru then tries to kill Jiro with a crutch gun, but Jiro easily breaks it. Jiro then detects a bomb in Toru's leg and throws the bomb away. Toru's robot leg stops working with the bomb removed, which causes Toru to freak out. Jiro then tells Toru to piss off, and Toru is finally moved to tears now that his robot leg finally works again because he was afraid he was about to lose his leg for a second time. And that's pretty much the opposite story of the one the anime told, go figure. In the anime, Toru does the right thing but then dies for it. In the manga, Toru is constantly doing the wrong thing but somehow gets a happy ending. Completely 180 there. Alright, so then the next chapter in the manga is Thunderdog Part 2. Now, there's no real anime equivalent to this as far as I can tell, but weirdly it shares a lot in common with episode 2 of the Tokusatsu Green Mantis episode. So in the Toku Green Mantis episode, we're introduced to Hanpei, and it climaxes around this weird scenario at the Komyoji's house, where Green Mantis transforms into Professor Komyoji to kill Kikaida. But Kikaida catches on to him way too fast, and then ambushes Green Mantis in Komyoji's bedroom and kills him, which is insanely awkward in live action because why was Green Mantis trying to get into bed anyway? Anyway, I want to say that Ishinomori sort of used this as the structure for this chapter, and so what happens in this chapter is Kikaida comes home, and what's weird is that he comes home fully transformed as Kikaida, which gets Mitsuko to greet him as Kikaida. But then the man who gave Toru the cyber cane and damaged Thunderdog are laughing behind the wall menacingly. Anyway, Mitsuko introduces Kikaider to the man, and Kikaider insists on getting his arm fixed first, so the man does it. Then the man eventually gives Jiro some crap about why is he lying, how can a robot lie, and Jiro counters that he's lying because he knows he's being lied to, and so the man tries to whip out Professor Gill's flute, and Kikaider grabs it and breaks it, which I think is the end of Gill's flute in the manga. The man then pulls out a Cyborg 009 ray gun and reveals that he's Professor Gill. Kikaider ends up beating Professor Gill unconscious, and then Thunderdog comes out. Kikaider kills Thunderdog, showering him to dust, and then finally Kikaider wonders what's the deal with the fake Mitsuko, and undresses her, revealing that she's actually an actress that Professor Gill hired to pose as Mitsuko, who kinda looks like Miyuki from episode 5 as the anime, but I'm pretty sure she's just a rando. Anyway, so the chapter ends when Kikaider leaves the house, and Gil gets up and declares that since Kikaida didn't hurt him, that Kikaider must be obeying Asimov's laws of robotics, which makes him different from the Dark Destructoids, and Gil wonders out loud if he can use that to his advantage. With some foresight here, you can possibly see that this might be the point where Gil got the idea for Kikaider. And yeah, anyway, so this has been an interesting 1 or 3 episodes we've gone over. It's really nice the way the anime made this story cool, because the manga version of it is just not that cool a story. I don't think Teru is really like a good character, but it's crazy that the anime kind of redeemed him. And otherwise, it's also amazing that the anime was also able to weave in elements of the Toku story and make it all one consistent, nice blend together. So yeah, that's why Kikaida the anime was so freaking cool, because it was like all 3 levels of the Toku, the manga, and the anime all coming together into this one perfect product. And that's why I love this show. All right, I'm gonna stop here and go on to another video because the next episode is Golden Bat, and that is a very long one. In fact, in the anime, it's 2 episodes. So it's a 2-parter. Enjoy.